Hello there guys, it's Joey. Welcome back to I Can't Witch Without, the series where each week we take a look at a different item which I use regularly within my witchy practice. The disclaimer at the start of the video, as always, is that you do not need any of the specific items in order to be a witch or create witchcraft, create spells. However, I think it's fun and useful to go through different bits and pieces and talk about their meanings and how they're used and information of that type. So this week it is I Can't Witch Without fossils, and we will be looking at three different types. We have the Megalodon Tooth at the front here, and we have two Osiris of slightly varying design, and then at the back there is an Ammonite. Okie dokie. So in order to find meanings, I usually pull on the two resources or references, and they both, the Crystal Bible and the Book of Stones, do not contain very much about fossils whatsoever. So we are going a little bit outside that reference point. I'm reading to you the Megalodon Tooth from my book. So it's one of my book of shadows, if you like. And I will read and note the references for the other two. And then we will talk about how I feel about fossils. So the Megalodon Tooth is a tooth of a prehistoric shark that do not exist anymore in most people's minds. It's a fossil, a fossilized tooth. My one looks a lot like a raven head. Excuse me, it's no mistake that that one was meant to be mine. There is an immense power attached to Megalodon teeth, and they are highly protective. They're very much about seizing the moment, taking what is yours, adaptability, slashing, chomping down on one's enemies. They have an energy which is powerful and fierce. They provide strength, success, to help you grow in your own power, gives you the power of the predator, the hunter, and can be used to curse or uncurse, as the case may be. When looking at Megalodon teeth, it's very important to sort of bear the animal in mind and how you feel about sharks in general. Humankind has a deep-lodged, long history of fear around sharks, and Megalodon were huge in comparison to today's sharks. So there is the element of the hunter, and when you look at the Megalodon tooth in shot, it does have something of a caveman-esque weapon or tool about it. Almost Aztecian sacrificial knife shape. And you have to bear in mind not only the energy of the animal, but also what you're looking at, which is a tooth. So the biting into something. So it's very weapon-esque to me, the Megalodon tooth, and it looks like a raven head. So it ties in for me to my Morrigan practice. And as all things, weapons and indeed teeth can be seen in two ways. It can be seen in a active attack formation or a defensive barrier formation. So with a Megalodon tooth, it can be used to project your power outwards or to create a barrier around oneself. And with regards to teeth, you know, you can bite, you can chomp, you can speak, or you can keep your mouth closed and create a barrier. The Megalodon Tooth in particular has a slightly different energy to the others. The others are quite earthy. Now there is a innate earth energy within all fossils, given how they're formed. But there's also obviously a water element that comes into it with Megalodon Teeth, for obvious reasons, creature of the sea. And because of that sea energy, it becomes a little bit more of a watery based rebirth. It can be utilized very strongly for emotional situations. All fossils, in fact, are really, really fantastic for grounding oneself in times of absolute need. And just they can just take over as far as protective energies go. You incorporate fossils into your practice, they, in my opinion, are the strongest form of, inverted commas, crystal. They're not a crystal, but you know what I mean. That's the way you'll find them in the metaphysical shops. To provide this protection, this survivability. For Megalodon Teeth, it's a little bit ironic in a way, seeing as they didn't survive. However, there is a sense of natural evolution within the energy of the particular fossil. The fossils have survived, whether or not the creatures have not. The fossils are the survivor. They have overcome the heat and the pressure, and they have formed into these incredible, beautiful examples of what it is to be shaped by hardship and difficulty, and they lend their power to finding those energies within yourself. Okay, so the Ozio saris, which are the slightly more spear-shaped ones here and here, are fossilized remains of an extinct marine animal, ancestors to the modern-day squid. They ranged in length from a few inches to over 6 feet. They could swim and crawl on the floor. Fossils are believed to increase lifespan, reduce toxins, anxiety, stress, balance the emotions, increase confidence. Containing supernatural and physical healing powers, they present you with a sense of self-belief, pride, and success in business. Use fossils to enhance and stimulate the mind. Have been used to aid in reducing fatigue, reducing digestive disorder and rheumatism associated with earth and the root chakra. That one was from the Healing Stone on Facebook, that information. So the Ozio saris has a particular history with me with regards to the Morrigan. This one over here, I first was very drawn to at a period in my life when the Morrigan was coming forth in a very vocal sense into my life, making her presence known. She'd always been there, I'd always been speaking to her, I wasn't sure who it was until that point. And the Ozio saris was very spear-shaped, and it came to me the week before I had a very stressful few days, and it was really, really stressful in a situation where I couldn't do anything to improve it. And the Ozio saris was a lifesaver. I kept it on me the whole time. I think it truly helped me get through it. It had this energy of stability, of grounding, of a deep earth energy. Like I said, the fossils really do help us to survive and are a reflection of survivability in a pure form. They've survived it all, and here they are. Now, the Ozio saris, given their spear-shaped for me did tie into the Morrigan a little bit more. Again, we can bring back the animal energy associated with it, which is squid, and squid have incredible survival instincts. There is an aspect of creating a diversion with the ink and getting away and things of that nature. There is a deep protective vibe about fossils that is probably for me the most protective thing you can possibly purchase. If you're in situations where you're stressed, where your emotions are being tested, where your patience is being tested, where everything is stressy, then a fossil is exactly what you need. They also talk about earth energy in a way which is relatively forgotten in a lot of modern practice. You say the element of earth, and the immediate response is of a very boring home and hearth and money based energy. Well, fossils are here to shake you and wake you when it comes to looking at earth energy. They are old. They have seen it. They are primal earth energy. They are durability. They are the will. They are surviving. They are the deep roots. They are grounded, but not in a sort of home and hearth and money sense. It's deeper and protective and primal. It's a huge element of something to be proud of, you know, that you have survived. You are a warrior. You've got your feet on this earth. You are of this planet. You are connected to all things. We are the history, the earth history, the land history, the earth memory going through the earth, all that has ever been, and bringing it up to your attention. You are connected to all that has gone before you, and for that reason you can bring fossils into ancestral work, so should you so wish. Finally, we have Ammonite. So the information is a little bit more forthcoming for Ammonite. This is from the House of Daedalus. The symbolism of Ammonites in antiquity. The word Ammonite references a historic name for the fossil. The 1st century Roman naturalist Pliny the Elder called them Harmonius cornu, meaning the horns of Ammon, which is the Latinized version of the name Ammon, the ancient Egyptian god of creation. Ammon was depicted as a ram, a man with the head or horns of a ram, or a horned sphinx. Pliny states the horns of Ammon, or Ammonite, is reckoned among the most sacred of gems to Ethiopia, the upper region of the Nile. Ammonites in Hinduism have a special relationship to the divine, like the egg-shaped linga of Shiva and the black shaligram shila or salagram shila of Vishnu. They are typically black in colour. The fossil patterns are believed to represent sacred symbols like the attributes of Vishnu, especially his chakra. In mythology, Vishnu transformed into Varakita, aquatic worms as hard as diamonds, to carve them. An interpretation of the snake-like ammonites found inside. They are traditionally used for devotion. In 19th century English texts, the Chinese are said to call Ammonites cosmos stone for its relationship to the symbol of their cosmos. Very much like the yin yang symbol, basically. Okie dokie. The hidden virtues of Ammonite. Because of their literal connection to the past, they support longevity and past life recall and memory. They can be used to contact spirit guides, honour ancestors, or connect to ancient sources of knowledge. Ammonites are especially well suited for past life work, since they are used as an index fossil. Ammonites only lived in the last chamber of their shell, using their phragmacone to stay afloat. Phragmacone, maybe? Sometimes we are so focused on the future or past we neglect today. Use ammonites to retain perspective or the present, to integrate information about the past or potential future, or reorientate yourself after altered states of consciousness, such as shamanic journeying. As a shell, because they come from the ocean, they are connected to the moon, water, and culturally associated feminine-like qualities such as intuition, emotions, and the unconscious. Because ammonites are fossilized shells, they help us to transform the emotional past, such as dysfunctional family patterns or childhood trauma. Lunar materials are also associated with sleep and dreams. This is especially true for ammonites, as they were historically used for prophetic dreaming. Home. Both shells and materials ruled by the moon symbolize the home. A lot of ammonite terminology is domestic. Yeah. As a spiral, both ammonite and nautilus shells are commonly used to illustrate the golden spiral. Ammonites are therefore associated with change, resiliency, overcoming obstacles. Like the labyrinth, the spiral represents the journey of life, death, and repeated cycles like the seasons and the movement of the celestial bodies. Can be used for animal totems. Abundance. Ammonites represent abundance in several cultures, such as the Horn of Plenty, from the Latin cornucopia. Aligning the chakras, so on and so forth. Healing properties. Ammonites were used historically for fertility, pregnancy, birth in animals and people. Fossils are generally related to satin, which is regulating the areas of legs, bones, joints, teeth, skin and hair. Because they come from the ocean, they can also be linked to the moon, which rules breast, stomach, digestive system and womb. Modern healers associate it with the root chakra. Yeah, and healing of that nature. Okay, so there's a lot more information on the ammonite. So the ammonite that I have here is black and white, and again I associate it with the Morrigan, the spiral being very much a Celtic symbol for life, death and rebirth, as was hinted at within that text of information. The ammonite can be really helpful for going onto an introspective journey and to help you reconnect to your sense of spirituality. Again, they have that water-based energy alongside the earthier energy, but really the water-based ones take on that energy a lot more. And you can combine the two, earth and water energies, through fossils quite well. But for the more water-based ones, it's easier to connect to the water element aspect, to see it as a creature of the sea, and then sort of bring in life, death and rebirth energies and mystery via symbolism through the sea, and to really look at one's emotional states, to go into your history and pick out key moments that you need to work through, to bring it with you in finding a sense of emotional stability right now. It can be amazing for that sort of thing. It can be really good if you're trying to connect to past lives, and sort of a rebirthing through the idea of water is a common sort of going back and imagining yourself submersed in water is a common practice to sort of start looking at past life, as it sort of takes you back through the waters of time, if you like, and sort of wakes you up in the idea of being born into water, even though it's a womb and blood, really. But that energy is tied into the idea of water and the moon. So you can sort of go into past life recall through moon energies, through water energies, and utilising your ammonite in a spiral form, and sort of using that deep symbolism to tap in to those energies. No matter how you decide to use fossils, I think they should be on the top of your hit list as far as crystals are. I mean, get one. They are incredible, and they have a different energy to each individual crystal. For example, this one is far more feminine and this one is much more masculine. However, both energies exist within all things. It makes me wonder whether or not the particular animal in question left a gender imprint on its particular fossil. It's possible. I don't know. Or whether it's just me being odd. You know, anything's possible. Me being odd is a surety. So you can bring them into your practice in all sorts of ways. If you wanted to create the hard shell of self-defense around yourself, barrier work, impenetrable barrier work, fossils are the way to go. If you want to really sort of protect yourself on an astral level, particularly if you were engaging in past life recall or regression, they will do that too. They're really, really good for it. They are so strong, so primal. If you're working with a primal goddess or god who you believe goes back in time, and you can trace the origins of their myth so far back in time, and you're looking for the interconnectedness of their stories and myths throughout time, and you're looking at how different people interacted with the energies of that particular god or goddess, and you want to really sort of take that understanding on board into your own practice, studying with a fossil can be a really good way to go. The retention of information is something that you can use a fossil for. We talk sometimes about touch memory and the memory of places, that places seem to adopt a memory, and this is particularly true of houses which are very old, and there's this human idea of them taking on the history and absorbing the life force of the people who lived there, that the emotional states and physical experiences of people become imprinted onto homes. And the same idea can be very much applied to fossils, particularly those that were shells and were therefore a home of a creature. So they can help you with retention of memory. They can help you with anything that's a turbulent memory that's coming up and is troubling you, and help you to ground and stabilize yourself. If you have trouble hanging on to your energy, if you are often feeling quite lightheaded and your thoughts are flying out of your head and you can't ground yourself, and the crystals you've tried aren't working to the best of your ability, or they don't quite work in the way that you want them to, fossils will ground you right down. They will connect you to the earth and make you reconsider your relationship to the earth and see it as a much more primal, grounded, rooted force, and sort of talk about how the human race is sort of intimately connected to this world, that we are the earth and the earth is us. Very much so. You can use them in forms of assertiveness, in sort of a weapon-esque energy. The Megalodon Tooth in particular is very much about taking your power back. If you've been in a situation and it's left you feeling powerless, if you're in a situation that has damaged you emotionally, you had a bad breakup, or you've been in a situation at work and someone has done something to take away your power. There's been manipulation going on somewhere. There's been some sort of negative life experience which has left you feeling humiliated and your power has been taken away. Well, you can use fossils in all sorts of senses to really take your power back and to not allow anyone in that isn't coming in with good intention, and really sort of seal up those wounds while you heal yourself. I highly recommend fossils. I think they are incredible. So that's it for this episode of I Can't Witch Without. Many blessings.